All right, well, welcome to another expert interview. As always, super excited for today's guest. We're going to cover a lot of different topics. I love when we have people who have a variety of experience and can really help the business owner or that professional really dial in what they're trying to accomplish. So as always, before we jump in, if you're watching this on YouTube, go below this video, subscribe, like, comment. If you have questions, let us know. We can always do a part two. And with that, let's jump into today's guest. George, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is George Kihara. I go by Cairo. It is my name. So I go by Cairo. And I'm a digital agency owner. And, you and I kind of met, and I was kind of going through a transition where I'm shifting to do more work with business owners, really helping them figure out like what levers do they need to pull in their business to kind of help them increase their bottom line. So in the last 2 years, I've noticed marketing strategies are not working as long as they used to be before. And I had to really find another way to help my clients, in addition to marketing in other ways. How can we actually really open, so to say, the floodgates, really making sure that they're seeing a good return on the investments.
Love it, man. Well, thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy. I know your clients are crushing towards the end of the year, trying to get that dialed in. What's trending? What do you see in trending? I know you're looking at a lot of stuff. What are some hot topics?
Yeah, some hot topics right now. Three of them. The one that I'm most excited about is AI, artificial intelligence. So it's really, I heard about them 2 years ago, and I didn't think it would be this fast. But there's one right now that I'm loving is Jarvis.ai. If you're a writer, you write content, you do any kind of content, absolutely look into that tool. The second one that I'm really excited about is AI for lead generation. I'm seeing things out there. We're kind of testing this out with a few local clients here, where using AI is actually producing better booked appointments versus like sending people to your calendar. So it's been a really, really good time kind of testing that out. So like those are the two things that I'm excited about when it comes to AI. Number two would be paid media. Paid media has always been around forever, but the big conversation right now is, if you're on Facebook, like go to YouTube, jump on that before what happens to all advertising platforms, right? Everybody runs there and then it comes too expensive. So if you have the money to spend on advertising, jump on YouTube and get that taken care of before everybody else jumps on there. And number three is creativity. People are being creative with their ads. So in order to stand out, people are having to really be creative to get the message through.
Love it. Those are some great topics. Let's hit them, because I think there's some real good value in there, and it aligns. We were talking about Kim on the YouTube side. We'll circle back to that. But let's talk about AI. So AI and AR and any of that, the advanced tech, I think is really changing things. I know my buddy Tom, who we did an expert interview with, he turned me on to Pictory, which does video editing using text. And I was like, that's next level. Like I can edit videos using just text. Like I can copy and paste, like bizarre, crazy stuff. But I think we're seeing that increase rapidly. So why don't you tell us about some of these AI tools? How are you using them? What time are they saving for clients? Why should they look at it?
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Actually, I'll take a look at the video editing one, because I do video editing. Not myself, but one of my teammates does it. So I definitely good to check that out. Yeah, so Jarvis really, I think it's good for anyone, to be honest, right? And I'll give you examples of how I'm using it for my clients right now. So I'm able to do press releases really easy. So I'm not even having to go hire someone to do press releases. Like we could jump in there and go to the template where it tells you like, I want to write a press release. And we'll walk you through it. So just very simple. Writing a blog post right now. So like there's two ways that we're using it is like we can write all new fresh content by using AI. And, like the best I've been able to do is write content in about 20 minutes, which I was really ecstatic. The client loved it. And I'm also really happy because you can reuse your content in there by kind of just reworking it, because the AI is going to go rewrite all the content for you. So you can use it for blogs, press releases. The most way it's really helped us the most is writing video VSLs, video sales letter, and we can chunk out a year's worth of social media content in about a full day. So that's how fast it's helping us really get that stuff done, right? Don introduced us, so he's been wanting to kind of do that. I literally just did his whole year's worth of social media within a day. And it was all because of like using a tool like AI, Jarvis.ai.
So what's the for those who are really interested? I mean, you got me hooked. I'm gonna have to look at it too.
Yeah.
I've heard about it a couple times. I haven't looked. I'm gonna look because I got to get some more content. I try. I mean, what's the cost? If someone's looking at a tool like that, what do you know what the pricing is?
The pricing was at about, I think, $199, but they just released a lower version because they found out that maybe 20%, like the 80-20% principle, right? 20% of the people are using so much of it, and then 80% are not, and it's costing them more money. So they actually released a lower one that's about, I believe, $19 to $50 a month. So, and you get about 50,000 words a month, which is more than enough to get content for you going.
I love that. Well, I mean, I appreciate you sharing value, right? It's tools of the trade, but guys, this is a tip, right? Content is king. We know that. Almost every interview we've done with someone in the marketing space will tell you you've got to have content, whether that's social, whether it's blogs, whether it's press releases, articles, short format, like you have to have content. So anything you can do to streamline that process, you got to look at, right? You have to give it some due diligence. So then once you get all that content created on the social side, do you have a tool that you like or recommend for scheduling out all that content? Are you posting live? What's your kind of philosophy there?
My philosophy is I don't want to have to jump into 20 different platforms, right? So it's really, give me one platform that's going to let me schedule everything. I haven't been able to find one that lets me schedule all of them together, but a lot of them are pretty good. So my top one, which is a little bit more on the expensive side, but is Agora Pulse, right? That one, the reason I love it is because it gives me a lot of insights that a lot of tools don't give me. It's easy to use, and also just kind of like, it'll show you the hot ones, what's really working well. And it gives you a pretty good, the interface is easy to use. The other one that we're playing with right now is CoSchedule. They've been kind of working on a few things right now. This one is also more geared if you tend to write a lot. That's a really good tool to go with. But if you're more of like a data geek like I am, Agora Pulse is the way to go. Then there's always your favorites, Hootsuite. That's a pretty big one. There's another one I'm forgetting the name of, but those are the three that are coming to my mind right now that I've played around with. But Agora Pulse is the one that I go to just because I do want to have that data to be able to kind of pull and make decisions based off that.
I love it. I love that you're looking at data. So again, another takeaway for you guys, schedule on the platforms at a minimum, right? Get the content going. But yes, you are going to streamline your time if you pick a tool that allows you to target your platforms. I know looking at a lot of the scheduling tools, I've yet to find one that does every platform you could imagine. Yeah. So make sure that you understand if your content strategy is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, that whatever you choose does those three. If it's, TikTok and Facebook, make sure it does that, right? So like make sure whatever you're looking at is going to accommodate your strategy, right? Which is going to be unique to your business model.
Yeah, there is one actually, like I think Loomly or something like that. If you're definitely heavy on the video side, right? It's really, you want to definitely find the one that works for you the best way. Like for me, I did like Agora Pulse. We're not doing TikTok or any of the other ones. We're just doing the Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. So that's why we kind of like just going with that one. And I think they also do Instagram stories, which was kind of like really easy to do as well. So it worked well for the clients that I have. Like they haven't really quite taken off to TikTok or anything. But like you're right, like you said, find the one that works for what you're trying to post.
I love that. So let's talk more about content. So you've given us some tools and some ideas on how we can generate more content and then how we can schedule it out, which I think is critical. Where do we come up with content ideas? I have some tips and tricks I give people, but like, how do you sit down with a client who's not a pro at creating content and pull content out of them?
Yeah, with content, I always start, the simple way is always like, all right, hey, Devin, so give me the top 10 questions your client usually asks you, right? That's always the easiest place to start. The next step I would go to is like, go to places online where even Google can give you, I believe, right? It's like, if you type in your topic, you will see some of the answers that, what is that? That little snippet with questions will give you that. Other tools out there like HRFs. There's another free software that gives you about 48 hours, like a free service. You type in your keyword and it will literally give you about the top 50 questions before asking. I'll have to get that to you. I just learned about it yesterday, so I don't know the name of it, but there are countless of tools out there that will let you know what is your audience asking about. What are the questions Quora, Reddit, all those are great places to go check out what the conversation is going on about your market. And those two are usually really great because they're kind of like real time. It's people who are kind of stuck on something. They're always coming in there asking questions, trying to find answers for it.
For sure. So many good takeaways there again too. I mean, I'm glad you said Google, because that's where I tell people, just go, if you're a CPA, Google CPA frequently asked questions. Yep. And then just start reading what's out there. Like, what are people asking? And I love that you talked about that Google kind of toolkit with the drop down arrows, because if you start clicking those, it'll ask other questions and you can start to see, hey, here's what's trending. Exactly. And then I love turning people on to private label rights articles, not just to repost them, but it's a great way to see, like, hey, if someone's selling an article pack with 50 articles and someone's selling another 50 and you look at them and they're very similar, there must be something to the content that's being created, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
and you're onto something there that I think when I talk to people and they're kind of like, I don't know what to say, and then they kind of go find what you're saying, right? And they're like, but it's already been said. And I'm like, no, it's fine, but you're gonna do it in your voice, and that makes it different because there are people who are gonna really want to listen to you. I heard this analogy where the Beatles, they have like the most popular song in the entire world. And the funny thing is that they have about 160,000 covers that are being made of that, people who are selling it. So again, the most popular song has 160,000 covers, right? Somebody's making money off it. So, and that kind of goes to the whole idea. It doesn't matter if it's out there, just do it and do it in your own voice. And that makes it unique enough to be out there.
So good. Awesome. Any other AI stuff that you're looking at before we move into YouTube?
Yeah, so with the AIs, if you're in lead generation, I mean, we all need leads, right? Without leads, you're kind of dead in the water. So if you're doing high ticket sales offers or anything like that, or you do any kind of calendar, look at a system called WooSender to just kind of really help you start automating all the conversations without even having to jump on a call yourself. You can really, it almost reminds me of like Facebook bots. So you can kind of have different questions, take you down the different route. This one you can have and connect to all platforms that you have, right? Emails, phone numbers, Facebook Messenger. And you can really set up as many automations as you want to really qualify people so that by the time they jump on a call with you, they're qualified and ready to go. So it's really impressive. I'm still learning about it, but definitely check out a tool like that one. It's really been impressive. It works for my client in the dating niche. I'm not talking a doctor, but also the local market with dentists and the tricholitis studio that I'm working down the road with. It's really working across the platform, every industry that I've been working with so far.
So I got to ask, right? And maybe this is a setup question, right? So a couple of times you mentioned, like, I'm just looking at this tool. I want people to understand that this is why you hire experts, because I'm getting turned on the tools all the time. You're exploring tools all the time because it's what you do every day. I have a certain vertical I work in that I work on every day. Yeah. So why is it important that people call you or call an expert if they're looking at expanding their marketing? Like, why is that important?
This is again, it starts with the whole thing of like why I needed to make a shift in my business, because like you said, when I got into this niche 10 years ago, digital marketing, it was a very different landscape. Clients who were killing it back then are struggling because they're still expecting things that were working in 2010 to be working right now. It doesn't work like that. Every strategy that you do, unfortunately, has a diminishing effect, or you have to do a lot more work to make it work, right? It's kind of like a reverse angle or graph. So the reason why you want to call an expert is because you want to make sure that they're giving you the most up-to-date things that are working, so that you're in front of the trend. Because once you kind of really start jumping in towards the end of the trend, you're really actually going to have to be working that much more harder to make it work, right? Somebody who's jumping on Facebook ads today, it's a lot more tougher than it was 5 years ago, right? If you jump into YouTube ads right now, it's a lot more easier than it's going to be about 2-3 years down the road. So that's why you always want to work with experts who know their niche or what they're doing, because that way you don't have to worry about all that stuff. You can just be like, this is what I want to do. Can you help me do it? And then find the right person to help you get there.
That's awesome. I mean, like I said, it was a setup question, right? Because that's what we do. But I think it's needed, guys. Like, I think that if you're watching this, right, you're already a step ahead, right? You're already curious. You're already trying to figure out, how do I get a competitive advantage in your vertical, your niche, your market, whatever you're tackling. And there are people who can help you get there. And some of them have been interviewed before. Maybe you could even use 2 or 3 of the people we've talked to, because everybody's got a different piece of the puzzle they're perfecting. And that's where, like you said, Don introduced us, and then you've connected me with a couple of people, and there's opportunity for all of this to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk YouTube, right? So Kim gave us some really good knowledge on kind of how to put an ad together, simple landing pages, like really he did a great job walking people through the process.
Yeah.
What is your input in the YouTube ad world? What do you see in work? What can we give people?
Yeah, so with YouTube, it kind of goes the third trend that I was talking about, creativity, right? It's like I'm seeing, back in the day, it still works, right? You can kind of just pull up a phone, shoot your ad, make sure you're hitting the pain points, right? The whole idea of like really, what's the problem they have that they don't want, and what's the result that they want, but they don't have yet, right? If you address that, that's definitely the main way to go. Then a landing page, and then into whatever offer you're really trying to offer them there. So for me, really, it's really making sure that you're tracking, first of all, right? Know your numbers. I think that's the number one thing that's really going to help you get in front of the game. And that's where Kim is really able to help me, because in the past, I've wasted so much money on trying to kind of get Google to work. But someone like Kim, he's really able to show you like the numbers here don't make sense. Like, let this go. It's just too expensive. It's not working. Let's come up with another way. And it's an endless kind of like, markets for you to play with. So be careful not to just kind of go all in and just throw money at it. Start slow, find what's working, then scale up, right? Start slow, small, and then slowly scale your way out. So, and that's what I've found with YouTube. Like, you can really use it for a lot of things. If you're in the e-commerce market, the local market depends. It's a little bit tricky there. It depends on exactly what you're doing. But if you're doing also like high ticket items, it's really a great way to go with.
That's awesome. So let's talk creativity, right? Because I love that you brought that up, and that was your third talk point. So what does that mean to you when you say people are getting creative or you need to be creative? What's that mean? Like, what do you mean by that?
So creativity, I'll give you an example like what I meant by that. What I've been noticing, it's like, and I signed up for this course a few years ago. That ad, it's from Potpourri. It's like the girl who's in the toilet pooping, kind of like, or the ice cream, right? So the company that came up with that, Harmon Brothers, had a course of like how they actually go through creating their ads that way. And when I went through it, it was actually really simple, and I was shocked. Like, I thought it was going to be this, ridiculously long process, but all you really need to do is really a couple of things. Go find all your testimonials and start going through them there, right? If you start pulling them in there, you'll start finding ideas of like how to go with it. Or go find your competition, the ones who are advertising, and listen to the first 30 seconds to 1 minute. You'll find the hook in there, and then take that hook, reverse engineer it for yourself, and then just kind of add a little bit kind of play in there for yourself. So it's really be creative. Again, kind of going back to the first step of like use an AI to give you ideas, or look at what your competition is doing and then come up with your own fresh ideas that way. And you don't have to spend a lot of money on an ad. You can just do it yourself at home. And these days you can find cheap labor on, Fiverr.com. For $600, you can get a model to shoot a video for you. That's really going to be nice, well shot professionally, and ready to go.
It's so awesome you talked about that, because I think that there are so many ways to create quality content. If you don't want to get behind a camera, or you're not, the right person, there's so many options. And Fiverr is great. If you want to get more complex, Upwork, you can hire a bunch of people. When I had my agency, half my team was through Upwork over the years.
Yeah.
And I love that you talk about it, and I'm going to bring this out. I use this quote when I talk to college classes. In school, plagiarizing, you get penalized for, right?
Yeah.
In the business world, that's how you fast track, right? Who's doing what and what's working, right? If you see a campaign work, or you see a social post go viral, or you see something working, if you want to get into marketing and that's in your vertical, you should look at it. Like, why is it working? Why are people reacting to it? Is it because it's edgy? Did they say something that offended people and that created engagement? I know some people, that's their whole marketing strategy, right? They say statements in slightly wrong way just to piss people off, and all of a sudden they have 1,000 comments on their post, and it's like, yeah, well, that was intentional, right?
Exactly.
So I love that you said that. Like, guys, don't make it harder. You don't need to sit there with a whiteboard and come up with something fully original. You need to see what's working and then attach your voice, your culture, your fun, your spin to it. So that's such good advice. What's a creative project you've done? What's something fun one of your clients is doing that people could learn from?
So one thing we're working on right now, so I have an e-commerce client that we're working on right now. So we're taking, and this is the one I told you he was doing really great like 10, 15 years ago. So kind of really going to YouTube now. So we're looking at a way to like, how do we promote some of his wellness brands, vitamin C, bergamot, and then kind of putting that on video. So, and the creativity really comes in where it's like, we create like 10 headlines that we test on Facebook, and then that goes to a video. So it's like really trying to use either animation or having him on there. We're gonna test that out as well, or we're gonna have like either more kind of like a younger crowd. So we're testing all the different little markets out. But the animation, I'm curious to see if that's gonna work, or a whiteboard. I'm sure you've seen all the whiteboards out there, like Doodly. So we're testing about 5, 6 different of them. They're not expensive to create because again, you have video out there that can create this for you with a script. And then once we have a winning ad, we're gonna kind of go full on production with that to kind of get that rolling to the next step. And that way, yeah, we're spending with a budget of 1,000, we'd get to test about 6, 7 different videos with a $10 budget on Facebook every day. So we're not blowing our budget at all until we know what's working.
Again, this is why I love doing these interviews, right? Because there's so much good stuff here for everybody. Did you guys understand that he just said for $1,000, this is what he's testing, right? So I know often and I love videographers and photographers. There's a time and place for really high-end good stuff, right? But there are so many tools. You talked about doodle videos. Doodle videos, I think, are still super good, important, and I think they engage people. And I mean, they worked 10 years ago, right? They still work. I think animation, the little caricatures, people like that. So I think that there's so many things you can play with, but I love that you talked about testing, right? Hey, we're going to try these 5 or 6 things. We're going to get some feedback. We're going to work on headlines and visuals. And then once we start to see something trending, we're like, hey, this is working, then we'll start pouring some more money in that. Well, you're probably still testing a couple other things.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's really all the framework that we have right now. Just be a tester, test. And the reason I say testing, and I hope you understand what I'm saying here, it's the only way that you will always be in front of the market. And when things are working, right? You'll always have a solution to when things are not working, what's not working, so you can get whatever is really producing the results that you want. So testing is critical. So a lot of people hate it. And I think that's why, again, find someone who can help you test to find what's winning for you, because that's what your market wants. It's not what I think that they want. It's what they want. Whatever is causing the click is what you want to give them. And
it could be as subtle as color. It could be as subtle as verbiage. Exactly. You never know, right? So,
yeah, you'll never know unless you test it out.
And I love that you talk about the client, right? Because at the end of the day, we got to remember who we're marketing to, because they're the ones who dictate if what we're marketing makes sense, right? Like, we may have a brilliant idea that doesn't work, right? Exactly. And we may have a dumb idea that we launch and clients are like, that's amazing. You're like, cool, let's run with it.
Yeah. I don't know how many things I've done. A lot of things that I've bummed, man. I'm like, cool, great design, cool looking stuff, and then the opt-in is like 5%. I'm like, oh crap, we're shooting for like 30%, and then now we gotta go back to the drawing board. And it's like, oh, I forgot, I'm not the market. I have to really make sure that I'm talking to the market that we are trying to go for.
How important is it to be, so you talked about testing, how important is it to be agile and just get stuff out? Like, how important is that in today's era?
I mean, if you can test as like within the same day. I've seen people who do that. Like they're really good at like being able to test and to find what's not working and change it. Speed of implementation, right? So like it's like one of those laws of the universe: speed of implementation. It's why not be agile, test and implement when you can save yourself a lot of money today and tomorrow, right? If you're spending a $2 click and you can change that to 50 cents by tomorrow, why not? Right? That's money saved, and that gives you a better budget to really even go for more people, to find people out there.
I really again, I wanted you to say the answer because I want people to understand, like, there are agencies out there that I still think do good work, but I think they spend so long planning and strategizing that sometimes they miss the mark and not just getting stuff out there for their clients. So I want you to be careful when you're choosing a partner, because yes, there's importance in strategy and identifying your ideal client and some of this stuff. But at the end of the day, all of that is theory until it's executed, right? So you've got to execute. It's like a plan, right? The best plan works until you execute it, then it doesn't work, right?
Yeah, and I think it's if you're out there looking for someone to help you with an agency, really ask them for, like, are you able to get us data, or ask for data a lot more and ask them to break it down for you. It's just, what are the stands that you're looking at, and it's really, and I can see where people, business owners can kind of get lost in that. It is very confusing looking at numbers. I'm like, I don't know what these numbers mean. So definitely do your due diligence and jump in a couple of like Facebook groups and, like, what are good numbers to be getting here. That way you can hold that agency accountable, and that way you're not just kind of blindly, accepting what they're giving you.
Love that. Make sure you understand the numbers. You guys have to understand marketing enough to understand the person you're working with, if they know what they're doing, right? They're good at tests, but you got to be able to have a conversation, right? And I hope that 5 or 6 of these videos now, there's enough marketing videos we've created with people who are absolutely crushing it. You should have enough that you can start to dial in, like, here's what I should expect. I know in Kim's video, one of the highlights was he talked exactly about, here's what your click-through rate should be. Here's what your cost per lead should be. Here's what he gave you benchmarks, right? Go watch that video. We've talked about, like, knowing, like, hey, if we think this is going to produce a 25% conversion rate, okay, well then let's hold ourselves accountable to that.
Yeah, exactly. And and within that is like a very interesting thing that I'm also finding another trend that I'm seeing with people who are either I'm talking to, is that the people are kind of getting fed up with, like, the one person who's just, like, very concentrated on one thing. It works, but then it's really kind of like it comes down to accountability. Like, I only do Facebook ads. I'm not concerned about your opt-in rate. Like, you give me whatever you give me. So that's why, again, it comes in like, all right, if you're going to go with someone like that, make sure you understand how you're going to measure your opt-in level and your sales conversions. Because if this other person is not going to help you, you have to take it on, or you have to hire someone else to help you with that. Because it does take sometimes a conversion expert to look at the numbers. And sometimes somebody who's just running ads for you might not be able to help you with that. So I think that's a critical thing, is really make sure they can help you tweak those little things on your landing page and not just, like, running the ads for you.
I love that. And I don't think people understand that, like, even if we take that to pay per click, right? That was something we always preached back in the day, and it's still relevant, right? If you have someone just optimizing your ads for pay per click, but they're not helping you optimize where we're driving traffic, you're missing half of the equation.
Yep.
If you're having someone crush Facebook ads and create really good stuff, or crush YouTube videos, and we're driving good traffic, but the bounce rate's high, the time on site's not there, the opt-in rate's not there, and we don't understand these statistics or how to test it, well, then why are we spending thousands of dollars driving traffic?
Exactly. And there's so many people like that. There's somebody I just came across, she's spending $5,000 a month, and the guy only runs Facebook ads. It doesn't optimize anything else. And if this is where, again, find companies that do agile marketing for you. And, I prefer starting from the click and then working my way, into the funnel, right? Start with the click. That's how this is what they want. Then your landing page, then whatever the thank you page is, if that's going to be a trip offer or a self-liquidating offer or a webinar, right? Really go down the step. Don't start in the middle of the funnel and then try to optimize that, because you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Can it work? Sure. But you're leaving so much money on the table on the other end here and the back end that you could be selling. So I think that's how I prefer to look at it. Just really start from the beginning and then test your way through the funnel so that you can keep optimizing it and kind of keep opening up the door to the next level, to the next level, to the next level.
It's great advice. And taking that to another level, I always like to talk to people about is that marketing to sales relationship, because that's just as critical, right? So if we build a really awesome marketing funnel, right, where we have great impressions, we're driving great clicks, we're converting, we're nurturing, we're doing all the things that we should be doing to position people to say yes. At the end of the day, you still have to understand how to sell. Now, it'll be easier because these are highly qualified people, but you guys still need to understand the best marketing can fall perfectly flat if you have a phone number that's ringing to a voicemail and no one's answering. If you get on a sales call and don't have a clear plan on how to do discovery, align, and move someone to a purchase, like, you've got to understand that part too, because I'd hate to see you spend good money and create this awesome funnel, and then we're sitting here as the marketers like, look, we're booking appointments. And then you're not happy because you're not closing deals. Well, I can't control that, right? I'm not you. Now I can give you a bunch of advice and I can help you with your script, but I want to make sure people understand like that funnel doesn't just stop when the appointment's booked. Right now, we got to move them into the client life cycle, how we nurture our clients. Do we ask our clients for deals? Like, what are we doing with that person?
Yeah, it's and the tool that I was mentioning, WooSender, that allows me to actually record my client sales. So I can like, listen, this is where you're losing the deal. I got you all these leads, but this is where you're falling off. So either hire your team a sales coach to help them really close better. But again, and with tracking, you can catch that. If you don't have tracking in place, you don't know where the leak is at. So, like with the tracking that I put together, I can see that the funnel is converting really well, but all of a sudden you get to the sales calls, you have 30 calls and no closes, then, at least close 1%, right? Something.
But I love you talk about that, right? Like, guys, there's so much data available. We used to always talk about that. I did a lot of marketing in the childcare space. And, the big goal on the marketing side is to get people to pick the phone up to schedule a tour, right? Mm-hmm. And you really don't want to talk price until they're in your center for a tour. That way they're experiencing it, right? So there's like some real good scripts. And some of the best childcare coaches are coaching this. And then we would partner with them to do marketing with their same clients. And we would say that like, hey, let's listen to the calls. Because the person who answered one, you could tell she was like super busy, super sideways. She wasn't super polite, or this lady gave out the freaking price within 2 seconds, didn't even ask the person to come in. Like, these are all missed opportunities that if we just refine the script or, put some up next to the phone, we might be able to increase that.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that if you're looking for exponential growth, right, marketing is not always the right, it's not always the only thing you could do. Like we're talking about the funnel. And then you mentioned a great thing about sales, because if let's say you tweak everything in your marketing by 5% and then sales also 5%, that's an exponential growth that you're really seeing, right? It's not like a 1 + 1 = 2. It's exponential growth there. And I think that's why you need to look at it that way. Understand that they stack onto each other in such a nice way that it kind of blows your mind how much money you're able to kind of bring back into your business by doing that.
Yeah, and what are you leaving on the table, right?
Yeah.
So before we jump in, I'll ask you, I want to hear a little of your story and then we'll wrap up. Before we go there, anything else you want to get out there when it comes to AI, YouTube, creativity, marketing, anything that's working people need to hear?
I think when it comes to marketing, what I tell people right now, and it goes hand in hand with your the creativity and also really the message you're putting out there, is make sure your market dominating statement is clear and stands out. Because I think that's the one thing that I noticed that kills a lot of people, right? And I'm not talking about I've been in business for 20 years, best value. Really focus on creating a message that sells based on value, not price. Because when you sell on price, you're putting yourself in a corner, right? Don't run for the discount. Really create value, because that's what people buy. They buy on value. And of course, you have people who are selling on price, but that's not who you want. Really learn how to create a message that's based value what you're delivering for them. So, and I think once you nail that, the marketing and the sales should work themselves. But that's always like the one thing that's like the first thing we look at is, what is your market dominating position? Because if that's not clear, you're going to have a very difficult time getting anything to work.
Yeah. Yes. I'd love to rewind that and just say that twice, right? Because I think you're right. I think that I have one client right now I'm working with on the sales side, and we were talking, and I was looking at their website, all their social presence, beautiful branding, beautiful. It's gorgeous. It looks really good. Can't say anything about the branding. But as I was digging in, there was no personality to it, right? They didn't have like a mission, vision, value statement. We can talk all day about whether those are valuable or not. But they have a clear culture in their company. Like they have a clear thing that makes their company their company. And over the last year of working with them, I've been able to like really like, guys, I think this is why you're you. But this story isn't being told.
It's not being told, yeah.
So how do we encapsulate that into a tagline or a motivational message or, 3, 4, 5 bullet points or talking points? And then how do we reverse engineer your content to let people know that your culture and your value is this, and then let's market the hell out of that instead of just, I build great websites. Well, cool. So do 1,000 other people.
Yeah, like, yeah, there's thousands of you and they're emailing me every day in my Gmail account, you know.
So awesome, man. Well, I appreciate all the value. I'd love to ask, on your business journey, and I know you're making a big pivot right now. What's one or two things you've learned on your journey that you want people to hear? What's something that they could learn from?
One thing you can learn from, I think it's really learn how to remove overwhelm, because I think it's it's kind of sidelined me a lot of times, and I've just learned how to deal with that. And it comes down to having just a clear plan, right? Don't try to implement 20 million things. Just really take one thing, implement that, and then go to the next thing, right? It's really that whole idea of like trying to push two cars, you push one 10 steps and then come back and push it. I'm like, no, push one all the way down the road and then come back get the other one, because at least you have one strategy that's working for you and it's producing money for you now and revenue, and then go back to the next one. And the other one is be a hyper learner. I think with COVID and AI, it's the competition online in business is just that much more intense. And the only way that I've found that I'm able to stick around this is just to be a hyper learner and just keep learning, and just really find 1 or 2 good mentors and just take in what they're teaching you. And also I'll add the bonus in there. I'll say mentors. Kim is a mentor for our ads, and I have another mentor in Florida. Just really helped me kind of cut all the noise out so I can really focus on what matters.
I love that. So to recap those three, and I want to comment on the overwhelm one, right? So overwhelm, I think, is great. And I loved your idea of the car analogy. That's a great example of like, hey, let's get one across and then let's go get the other one. Yeah. It's probably not number one, but it's in the top 5 things I have to deal with entrepreneurs on when I'm helping them scale is like, you're going to hit this point where everything is coming at you. Right? Because as the business owner, not only are you trying to make decisions on your marketing and your sales, you have to then follow up on production and hiring and firing and culture and business and buildings and finance and accounting and vendors. And yes, it's all of it, guys. I was taught this by one of my mentors. Get a Post-it note, right? When you start the day, think about what are 3 big things that move the needle that you can get done today. And what are 3 annoying little things that are at the bottom of your list that need to get off your list? Stop pushing them and go ahead and get them done today. So big 3, little 3, put it on the Post-it note. And then before you go to bed, you make sure those 6 things are checked off. It allows you, again, just to take all the noise and really narrow it down to like, look, what's actually important today? Because you guys are going to face it. Like if you're growing, you're going to hit a point where it's too much, right? Yeah, you are.
Yeah, if you're growing, you're definitely gonna get to that point, right? It's a given, it's inevitable.
And you've used a word a couple times. I'm gonna make a little pitch, right? So I think that exponential growth right now is critical. So I'm gonna ask you about books in a second, but here's a book I think everyone should pick up is Exponential Organizations. One of our
I gotta check that out. Exponential, what is it called?
Exponential Organizations.
Exponential Organizations.
So one of the past expert interviews we did, he was talking about exponential organizations and growth, and a lot of the stuff you've alluded to today really aligns with that, where we used to be able to come up with our thing and execute that thing really well. But now that thing could become so irrelevant tomorrow that, to your second point, you have to be looking, learning, paying attention. When I was teaching social media marketing to the college class, one of the activities I had my students do, and I think they hated me for it, is I had them give me 2 example social posts every week and what they liked or didn't like about it. Because I want you to pay attention. Like I need you to not, it's okay to be on the platform, but be on the platform with intention. Like what post caught your attention?
I like that idea.
What post pissed you off? So at my marketing agency, I actually made my team do that. Every week at the team meeting, my team would have to bring me 1 piece of social content that was fire, just absolutely crushed it. And they'd have to bring me 1 piece of social content that was just trash. And we ended up with this huge, we had Dropbox. I mean, we had thousands of images in there of stuff that was awesome and stuff that was trash. And it was great because we were able to really dig in as a team. And if we were trying to get creative, we could pull the awesome one up and really dig through, like, is there a trend? Is there certain colors? Are there visuals? So be on the platforms. That's a great way to learn. Just see what's trending, right?
That's a good one. I got to do that for social media. I do that with emails and landing pages. I haven't thought of doing that with social media.
Yeah, there's a little tip, man. Like I said, I made all my college kids do it. And after 20 weeks of class, they hate it, but it's like, guys, but you've learned a lot, right? Because now you're paying attention, right? And all of a sudden at the end, all the posts they send in are like super good because they can see them now, right? They see like, this is a good post. Whereas in the beginning, they're sending all the crappy ones, like this is junk. And so that was cool. And then, you know, there's so many places to go get information. Whether you have a news feed that you want to follow, or just go follow a couple influencers in your sector and just kind of dig in. And then to your point, mentors. If you guys don't have a mentor, in every stage of your life, mentors are going to change, but you probably should have someone that's helping guide you, whether that's relationships, finance, marketing, sales, accounting, business development, personal development. That all of those things need work, and they need work at different points and different stages. So, you know, we're both mentors and coaches and consultants to our clients, but I also have mentors, coaches, and consultants.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's like Kim helps me really just put my blinders on. I'm not having to go buy 20 million courses that I'm never going to open, right? It's just like invest in yourself. And the way he teaches, like, you know, he'll cut you through all the clutter. And I'm like, no, this is all you need to worry about. Like, create a good ad, make sure it meets your market, where's your landing page, and these are the numbers we need to make sure we're following. This right here is not working, so let's go find another market to market to, right? So he made it so clear and just cut off, like, he saved me so much time trying to go through a whole YouTube course, you know? So I was like, you know what, let me go find another mentor, just kind of help me with my creating my own offer, right? Just like that's the other thing, it's really important. Make sure your offer is irresistible.
So good, man. You've given us so much good content, and I knew you would. Our first conversation was fire. I love talking to you because I could just tell. I love where your mind's at. I love that you're really getting creative. I love that you made the pivot and that you're honest about it. Like, hey, here's where I was in my marketing career and as an agency, and here's where I'm going because that's what my clients need. You've got to change, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk. Last thing I always like to ask is recommended reading or a podcast. What's something that you recommend for everybody?
Recommended reading. I don't know if anybody showed you this one yet. It's a really great book right now. How to create $100 million offers.
It's
a really good one.
Yeah, that's quite a few people have recommended it. So I'm gonna have to get my copy and start reading it too.
Yeah, that one. And I think I might have recommended this gentleman to you when we first met. His name is Rich Sheffrin. Used to be a big internet marketer back in the day. And the reason I love him is he's kind of called the gurus of the gurus, but very honest, very vulnerable. But what I like about him is like, he's able to really distill like what's working in the market right now, and able to kind of tell you like how to get there really, really fast. So like, he's like my number 1, 2 when it comes to marketing and really learning very quickly. So he's got like a YouTube channel, Facebook channel kind of going. So he does 3 live streams a week. So you can't miss him if you just search for him online.
Love it. Well, again, thank you so much for your time, man. I know you're busy. I know your clients are busy and they need you. So thank you for making time for us. Thank you for being transparent. I think that the more value we can create, the better. I just want to see people succeed. If they want to get a hold of you, what's the best platforms for them to connect with you on?
If you want to connect with me, just go to the website, digitalfactoryhq.com, or you can look me up on LinkedIn, George Kihara. Those are usually the best way to kind of reach out to me.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, sir. I appreciate your time. And I'm sure we're going to do a part 2 because I'd like to get a couple of the marketing guys all on one and really dig into some fun topics.
That would be fun, man. And thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.